You
This
can use your chat
conference will
window.
now be recorded.
Good to know. Hi, Venkat. Thanks, guys, that for all the introductions. Good to know a lot of folks from different experience ranges, from different backgrounds joining this course. Okay. Uh, I would start with welcoming you to our demo. Okay. And let me first start with agenda. Let me walk you through what I'm gonna talk about in the next 1 hour. Okay. And then we'll get started. I'll be introducing myself, and then we'll get started. Okay. So first, let me introduce myself, guys. I'm Suresh. I'm having close to 8.5 years of experience. Right now, I'm currently working as a data engineer. I have seen few ETL developers over there, so I'm pretty happy to see them in my course because I'm coming from an ETL background, and especially from big data. Okay, we develop big data applications using Python, and I have been training couple of courses. One is on data engineering, and second one is on Python. Okay, so I have almost close to 4 years of Python application development experience, guys, and I have been using Python from day one of my career in one or the other technology. So I'm going to share my experiences with you today working with Python. Okay, so I have worked for different MNCs, starting from TCS. I have worked for a couple of big four firms, Ernst and Young and Deloitte. I have worked for Google as a client. Okay, as a contractor, I would say, right? Not as a direct employee, but as a contractor, I got a chance to work with Google, where we have privilege to access the digital marketing data. So to put it in a simple terms, we have access to all your Gmail IDs, and whatever the analysis we have done there is on your Gmail IDs. Okay, and currently I'm working as a lead data engineer in one of the premier organizations, and I have been associated with Career IT for almost 2 years now, where I have been dealing good number of batches on Python and data engineering, big data. Okay, so that's a small intro about me, guys. Okay, and now let's talk about today's agenda. So first things first, I'm going to talk about Python. You are all joining for Python by having some expectations. So I'm going to talk about Python. So what exactly Python is, and then why Python is being the most preferred language in the industry right now. You all have shown interest for the same reason, right? Because everyone is talking only about Python. When you talk about programming language, nobody is mentioning about any other programming languages except Python. Okay, so why Python is the most wanted guy right now in the market, I'm going to talk about that, and then I'm going to walk you through our course curriculum. So you will get to understand what are the topics I'm going to cover, and why I have chosen those topics, because you all might be hearing this. Python is an ocean. Okay, you cannot just consolidate Python for a 40-day course or a 2-month course or a semester course. Definitely not, because it's an ocean. Okay, so I'll be walking you through the curriculum I have designed, and I'll be explaining why I have designed curriculum this way, and how this curriculum is going to help you to shape up your career. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether you are a fresher, it doesn't matter whether you are an experienced professional. If you want to get into most wanted technologies right now in the market, be it data breeds from big data space, or web programming, or data scientist. Okay, so I'm gonna walk you through how Python is playing a crucial role over there. Okay, and I'm going to walk you through different environments we'll be using as a part of this course, and then at the end of the day I will be taking your questions. Okay, so I'll be spending around 15 to 20 minutes answering your questions. Okay, now let's try to make this demo as interactive as possible, guys. Right, you can use your chat window. In the interest of the recording, this demo is being recorded, so I don't want any external noise. If you are confident that you don't have any noise around you, and you can clearly speak, you can unmute yourself and ask your questions. But if you are not confident about your surroundings, please use chat window in the interest of the recording. Okay, so let's get started. So before we jump on to Python, I would like to give you some basic definitions, guys. You need to understand some components. Okay, so first let's start with the definition of a programming language. So what is a programming language, guys, according to you? You may use your chat window. Like I said, I would love this session to be as interactive as possible. What is a programming language according to you? Like I said, you can ping your answers to everyone, or you have an option to ping it to me in private. It's a language to write code. Any other answers? Okay, let me put it in a simple terminology for you to understand. A programming language is nothing but a set of instructions you give to your computer. Okay, let's try to look at the way we are we are considering a programming language. Okay, so a programming language is nothing but a set of instructions. Your computer is not self-intelligent, guys, like you. Okay, it's not capable enough to think what has to be done, or it's not capable enough to do things by its own. It will just do whatever it has been instructed to. Okay, who is the one instructing these instructions to the computer? Programmer. Okay, so we are the ones who would feed our computer with set of instructions to be performed. Okay, maybe you wanted to add a sum of two numbers. You are the one who is telling computer how to add two numbers. But the best part of your computer is, what are the instructions that are given by you, it would execute them perfectly. Okay, without any issues, right? So that's how it works. It's nothing but a set of instructions which we use to communicate with your computer. Okay, so what are the different type of programming languages we have? I mean, before we jump on to type of programming languages, what are the different programming languages you know? You might be hearing about C, C++, then we have Java, and then Python. There are a lot of other programming languages as well, like Scala, okay, and then Golang. .NET is a framework. C# is a programming language. Okay, so these are all different programming languages that are available right now. Okay, there is another scripting language called Lua. I don't know how many of you have heard about this. There is a scripting language called Lua. Most of the Google products use this Lua programming language or Lua scripting language, I would say. Okay, so these are the different programming languages to list with, guys. Yes, Perl is a programming language, correct? Okay, so there is a huge list to mention, right? Now, what are the different types of programming languages? Types of programming languages. There are multiple types, guys, not just a single categorization available. First one is low level and high level. One category, low level and high level. And there is another categorization, compiled and interpreted. Okay, now we will talk about these things. So to your question, Cypress assembly would come under this low level language. Okay, it's also called as machine level language. Okay, now let's talk about these types of programming language. I mean, if you want to categorize, there is another programming categorization. One is procedural, and second one is OOPS, object oriented programming structures. Okay, now let me give you a brief understanding about these types of programming languages, and then we'll get into understanding where Python would fall into these categories. First things first, low level and high level. So low level programming languages are nothing but your assembly level programming languages, guys. Low level languages are nothing but your assembly level programming languages or machine level programming languages, which we call as, which are not understandable by human. They are understandable by the machines directly. And talking about high level programming languages, it's human understandable programming languages. It's not machine understandable, but human understandable. Examples being for low level language, assembly language is an example for low level programming languages. Fortran, an example for low level programming language. Okay, and talking about examples for high level programming languages, what are the programming languages we have discussed so far? Java, Scala, Python, Lua, all these can come under this high level programming languages or scripting languages. Okay, and next we talk about compiled and interpreted. Compiled and interpreted. So before we jump onto this compiled or interpreted, I would also want to discuss one more component called compiler. Okay, so now that you have here, we have a programmer who is coding all his instructions, using a programming language. Here we have a computer. Okay, so this programming language is typed in English. At least in India and US, we use English. Maybe China folks use Chinese. They have their own ways of writing a programming language, but at least we use English. Okay, I mean the alphabets, the characters, the symbols, we use English or whatever you see on your keyboard. Okay, and then is your computer capable of understanding the instructions? Definitely not, because your computer can understand only zeros and ones. Computer can understand only zeros and ones. So we would need a compiler. So this guy is like a translator. This guy would be acting as a translator who would be converting these instructions into computer understandable zeros and ones, or computer understandable format. Okay, and that guy is compiler. Okay, and you have a program specific compiler. If you are working on Java, you have Java compiler. If you're working on Python, you have Python compiler to do that for you. And then if you are developing a C program, you have a C compiler to do that for you. Okay, so whenever you have developed some set of instructions and you want to execute them, there will be two steps that are involved. One is compilation, and the second one is execution. So first you will write some, let me put it this way, guys. Maybe you are the ones who know Telugu and you went to, some other language states, be it Tamil Nadu or, Kerala, where you don't know their native language. Okay. So you have a translator in between. Okay. So first things, you would be writing on a paper whatever you want to communicate to that translator, and that translator is the guy who would be communicating your instructions to the language that is understandable to the other person, be it Tamil or Malayalam or whatever. That is what happens here as well. Okay, first thing, you will be writing a set of instructions. Your compiler would be converting them to the language that is understandable by the computer, and once that is converted to the computer understandable format, then the execution takes place. Okay, now here in this categorization we have compiled and interpreted, right? Compiled programming language will have these two steps: compilation and then execution. Talking about interpreted programming language, these two happens at the same time. Okay, so what is the advantage? So the advantage of interpreted language is you can execute one instruction at a time, unlike compiled. So for example, you want to perform a task. Maybe let me define the task. So the task is like, you will have to read data from a file. And let's say that file is having some employee data, like employee details, like employee ID, employee name, and then employee designation and employee salary. Okay, now your task is to find out employees at manager role. Find out employees at a manager role. Now you have developed a small application or a small code which would read that file, which would read data from that file, and then will try to check the managers who are check the employees who are managers, and then will print out that output. Where you have employee names who are all managers. Okay, so for example, you're doing that using Python. You'll have to develop the complete code at once, and then you'll have to submit it to the compilation mode, or you'll have to submit it to the compiler, be it Java, C, or whatever. Okay, and talking about Python being an interpreted language, you don't need to develop the entire logic at one go. You can write one step at a time. Maybe first step, you will try to read content from the file. Yes, that is done. Now you can check your output, what you have in that particular variable, and then you can write the next step, check the output, write the next step, check the output. So this way development is pretty easy for interpreted languages, guys. Development or debugging, or you will have complete control on your code. So it's not like you are assuming something, coding everything, and then debugging. No, you don't really need to do that. Okay, probably once we jump onto our sessions, and once you get some hands-on on this programming language, you will be able to appreciate more on this interpreted feature. Okay, but this is the biggest advantage for an interpreted language. So you don't really need to write the entire code to compile it, but you can write one step and you can compile and then check the output. Second step, you can check the output. Third step, you can check the output. Thus you'll have complete control over your code. Okay, so next classification, procedural and object oriented. I don't want to deep dive into this because This is the very first session. I would say this is a demo, but let me give you some high level understanding on what exactly this is. Object oriented programming concepts in object oriented programming structures, or in the programming languages which support object oriented programming structures, everything is an object, guys. Everything in an object. An object is nothing but any real world entity. Maybe you are working on employee data set. Every single employee is an object. You are working on some cars data set. Every single car is an object. Okay. Similarly, you are working on maybe customers data set. You know, every customer is an object. Every customer is an object, so on and so forth. Okay. So this object have some actions to perform. We call them as methods, and they'll have some attributes. Attributes are nothing but their properties. Properties like if you take an employee object, employee will have attributes like you know, name, ID, and then designation, salary, location he is working, Okay, and then they have some, you know, functions to perform, like is promoted. Maybe that is a method. When you call that method, it would be showing whether he is promoted or not. It would be executing some code and show you whether he is promoted or not. Okay. Maybe increment salary. Increment salary is another method. Okay. When you call that method, taking couple of inputs, maybe what is his current salary and what is the hike percentage, that function would calculate you know, the final salary after the incrementation, so on and so forth. So every object will have attributes and some functions associated with that object. Okay. Whereas procedural, you can just program everything in just a casual way, like you usually do. Okay. So Python, using Python, you can do both the ways, guys. You can implement program in both the ways. Either you can stick to procedural, or you can use the power of object-oriented structures. Okay. And in these three categories, Python would fall into high-level programming language, which is understandable to you. And we have Python compiler, which would convert the code you have written to the language that is understandable by the computer and execute. Okay. And then Python is an interpreted language. Okay. So you can take complete control. This is another reason why Python is being preferred by most of the data engineers and data scientists. Okay. Maybe you are a data scientist and you want to run some algorithm, maybe a classification algorithm, or maybe a regression algorithm, or maybe a predictive modeling. Okay. So you can have control from step one till you apply your algorithm. Okay. So there are a lot of visualizations that are supported. I'll be walking you through that in the next few minutes. But yes, you will have complete support, complete control. Same is the case with data engineering as well. There are a lot of on-demand frameworks like Spark or Databricks distribution. They are primarily dependent on Python. Okay, so you can check for this keyword called PySpark. You can check for this keyword called PySpark if you are new to data engineering. I have seen a lot of freshers. You will get to understand how much demand it has in the market right now. Okay. And yes, Python can be implemented in both these ways, procedural as well as object-oriented programming structures. Now, talking about features of Python, I'm not going to walk you through all the features today, guys, because today I wanted to give you some good overview, and I wanted you to appreciate why Python is being the most wanted language in the industry right now. Okay, let me talk about features. First feature of Python is easy to learn. These days, people coming from other technology backgrounds, or other groups like civil or ECE or electronics, most of the companies are preferring to train them or to start training them with Python. Okay, because the proven formula is easy to learn. This is not at all a difficult language, unlike your Java or C or C++, guys. Pretty easy to learn, simple syntaxes to remember, doesn't have too many restrictions. Okay, so you might have been seeing some memes on you know, programmers like, I forget to include a semicolon, and then it screwed up my complete weekend. Those kind of memes. Okay, so we don't have those problems with Python. Python is pretty straightforward. Um, there are no lot of complications, easy syntaxes to understand and remember. Okay, again, you don't really need to remember. You always have Google to help you with that, but still you can easily remember. So everything is made easy. And then Python is an interpreted language. I have explained what exactly is an interpreted language and the different advantages you get using an interpreted language. So you can take complete control on code development, and the debugging is made easy so that you will be confident about the logic you have written. Okay, and then it has exception handling support. You can handle all the exceptions um, in a straightforward way. Okay, and the next one is typed language. I know this is little early to introduce this feature, typed language, but this is one of the important feature of Python. So basically, to understand this feature called type, you might have to know a couple of concepts called variable and data types. Variable and data types. Okay, I'll not be deep diving into these concepts, but let me try to give you some overview of what exactly is a variable and a data type. Variable is something which you define. A variable is something which you define to store a value, and where this value would be stored in your RAM. Okay, whenever you are writing your code, maybe you want to add couple of numbers using a Python code. Okay, so this is how you will be doing it. Maybe a equals to 10, and then b equals to 20, some c equals to a plus b. This a, b, c are called variables. In this variable name a, you are storing value 10. In the variable name b, you are storing value 20, and you are summing up a plus b and storing the sum value in a variable called c. Okay, so a, b, c are what we refer to as variables. Okay, so we'll be deep diving into what exactly these variables are and what happens internally when you declare a variable, maybe in the first session or second session once we start our course. But for now, just understand that a variable is nothing but um, a reference value where you can store some values. It could be a numerical value, it could be a string value, it could be a boolean value, it could be anything which is defined by a data type. So data type would define the type of value you are storing in a variable. I repeat, a data type would tell you the type of the value you are storing in a variable. Integer value or a decimal point value. Decimal point value, we refer to it as float. And then maybe group of characters or collection of characters, we call that as a string. String, maybe Suresh is a string. Career IT is a string. Okay, Python is a string. If you want to store string values, yes, the data type is string. And then maybe if you want to deal with a boolean value like true or false, okay, you have a boolean data type. So likewise, we have a lot of data types that are supported in Python, not just in Python, in any programming language. Okay, so what is this feature called typed? Okay, now again, you need to understand Python versus other programming languages. When I say other programming languages, C, C++, Java, you will have to define data type while you are declaring a variable. Whenever you are declaring a variable, you will also be specifying the data type. I mean, the type of the value you are trying to store in that variable has to be defined. Okay, maybe you want to store an integer value, you'll have to define int. Maybe you want to store a string value, you'll have to define string. Maybe you want to store a boolean value, you have to define a bool. Okay, but that's not the case with the Python, guys. Python is intelligent enough to understand the type of the value that is stored. Okay, based on what value you have stored. So for example, what are the 3 lines I have written here is an example of Python code. A equals to 10, Python would be intelligent enough to understand, this 10 is an int value. Similarly, b equals to 20, yes, 20 is an int value. C equals to a plus b would return 30. So Python would be able to understand 30 is an integer value. That feature is what we refer to as typed feature, TYPD, typed. Okay, any type of programming language, you don't need to define data types, guys. Your programming language itself is intelligent enough to understand what is the type of data that is being stored. Another example for typed language, Scala. Okay, Scala is another example for typed language. Okay, and then cross-platform, or we call it as platform dependent. So what is a platform? Before we talk about the feature called cross-platform, what is a platform? Any idea, guys? Okay, a platform is nothing but the environment you have used to develop the Python application. Okay, in our case, Windows. Okay, so you develop Python code using Windows. You are absolutely okay to run the same code on Unix, definitely, without any changes to your code. Without any changes to your code. Okay, maybe there could be some changes when you're dealing with file systems, but that can be, parameterized. I'll be talking about those concepts during our course, but yes, with the minimal changes, I would say, or you can implement your code in such a way that you don't need to change anything, zero changes. When you want to migrate from one platform to another platform, when you want to migrate your code from one platform to another platform, yes, you can do that. So that is the reason it is called as cross-platform. Okay, and then application space, wide range of applications. Wide range of applications. Okay, now you want to become a Python application developer? Yes, you can become Python application developer by learning first couple of modules in our course. Okay, so you'll get the hang of Python in the first couple of modules. You will be covered with all the concepts. Okay, so Python application development. And now talking about other applications. Web applications, yes, we have a couple of frameworks called Django and Flask, using which you can develop web applications. And then talking about data science applications or machine learning applications. Trust me, what 90% of the data scientists would prefer Python as a medium to implement their solutions. So what are the other alternates? There are other alternates as well, like R. R being a competitor to Python for implementing programming, for implementing machine learning applications. R. Okay, but the effect of R is completely negligible compared to Python. Python is the guy when it comes to implementing data science applications. Okay, so Python has a rich set of libraries for your machine learning, like PyTorch or TensorFlow, or the packages it has to offer, like NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, okay, Seaborn, whatnot. Okay, so that is the reason Python is the guy when it comes to developing data science applications. Now, next, data engineering. Data engineering or big data or Spark, you call it with different names. Again, Python is the most wanted guy there as well. Like I said, you can probably Google PySpark and you can check the requirements in your respective countries. If you're joining from US, if you're joining from European countries, or if you're joining from India, just type PySpark and check the requirements. I don't want to defend Python here. You will get to know by yourself. Okay, so there is a huge demand for this component called PySpark on the data engineering area. So there are a couple of tools, guys, in data engineering, Snowflake and Databricks. These two are like most happening right now for any data warehousing operations on big data platform. Okay, Databricks is having an edge over Snowflake just because Snowflake doesn't support Python. Snowflake doesn't support Python. Okay, you can, if you want to read it by yourself, you can just go to Google and type Databricks versus Snowflake. Databricks versus Snowflake. Snowflake. Okay, so there as well, Python is playing a crucial role, guys. And you want to automate your testing? Yes, testing automation. You have Python being used there as well. You want to develop desktop applications? You have a package called Kinter, which would help you to do that. Okay, so Python is everywhere. Python is everywhere. There is no area where you cannot use Python. Maybe except for some tool specific developments. Except for that, Python is everywhere. And success of most of the tools these days are defined by its support to Python. Okay, like you might have heard about this technology called Spark. Spark has become the most used framework only after it has introduced Python support. Okay, I can tell you the version as well, Spark 1.5. So PySpark component has been introduced to Spark framework from version 1.5. That is when Spark was able to onboard most of the customers to its platform. Okay, and then the biggest advantage of Python is range of libraries, wide range of libraries. Most of the time you don't really need to write code for a lot of things, guys. Okay, so you already have a lot of libraries available. You have to know what library to use. Say for example, I want to call a REST API using HTTP client. You have HTTP client API available. Okay, and maybe you want to talk about uh, maybe you want to send a mail, or by doing some customization to the content of your mail. Yes, you have SMTP library available directly in Python. And then maybe you want to do some data profiling. Yes, you have packages available. Maybe you want to run machine learning algorithms. Say for example, you want to run some logistic regression algorithm, or maybe some k-means algorithm. You don't really need to write a code to implement that algorithm. You already have package available. All you just need to do is a simple function call that would do the trick. Okay, so the beauty of Python is you don't really need to write hundreds of lines of code. So everything is already available. Just you will need to understand how to use them. Okay, so the wide range of libraries available, guys, for Python. Okay, that's another feature which have made Python the most preferred language to many entry-level programmers. Okay, so Venkat, to your point, this is Venkat. Please give some information about full stack and backend developer also. Yeah, full stack and backend developer. This is one area where Python is lagging, buddy. Okay, so there are other technologies which are most preferred than Python when it comes to that area. Okay, so here I'm not saying Python is not preferred, but Python is just lagging when it comes to the other applications I'm highlighting. Python is the guy, like Python is number one. But when it comes to full stack or backend developer, Python is little lagging. But still, you have all the support, like you have Django and Flask to implement your front end applications, and then Python JDBC supported. Python supports JDBC to connect your backend. Okay, so you have all the supported libraries, you have all the frameworks that are available, or packages that are available in Python. But like I said, you have other technologies in Java, like React, or Java based like React, or D3, or there are there are other frameworks which are far ahead than Python when it comes to web programming area. But like I said, it's not that you don't have Python into backend or front end at all, but it's little lagging compared to those technologies. Hope this answers your question. Okay, but like I said, Python is everywhere. Now let me just walk you through the course, guys. First module, I'll be walking you through basics of Python. This is pretty common module, and most of the features here would be same for every programming language as well. Most of the concepts here. So we'll be talking about introduction to Python. So we'll be talking about what we have discussed today, and we'll be deep diving into those concepts. and then I'll be showing you installation and setup. Then we'll start with ABCs of Python, keywords, variables, and data types. Then we have conditional statements, if else, nested if else, and then we have loops, for loop, while loop. Do while is not supported in Python. And then we have control flow. We'll talk about break, continue, and pass statements. Okay, and then we talk about arrays, Python functions, and there are a couple of Python functions like built-in and user-defined. We'll be talking about them. And then we have some important modules to discuss, like strings, and then date, calendar, time delta. Then we'll be walking you through lambda functions. Then we'll do some file operations. Okay, like how you read data from your Python files. I mean, by how you read data using Python from files, be it a CSV file, be it an Excel file, be it a text file. Okay, whatnot. And then the important concept, guys, collections. Okay, you take any programming language, collections will play a crucial role. In Python, these collections are also considered as data types, but I don't want to discuss these collections as a part of data types. I wanted to spend some good time on making you understand these collections. Here we'll be talking about list, tuples, dictionaries, and set. Okay, and we will also be talking about different variants of these collections. Okay. And then we have this OOPS concepts. And then we have this OOPS concepts. In OOPS concepts, we'll be talking about what is a class, what is an object, what are the different OOPS concepts like, inheritance, and then we'll talk about we'll be talking about overloading, we'll be talking about constructors, we'll be implementing some good number of examples using this object-oriented programming structures, guys. And then we have this miscellaneous topics. In miscellaneous topics, we will be talking about exception handling, and I'll be showing how you can use regular expressions. And I'll show you web scraping using Python, what are the different modules that are supported in Python, which will let you to do web scraping, and then Python accession, and then Python JSON modules, which would help you to deal with JSON datasets. Hope you are aware of a JSON dataset. Generally, JSON is a pretty famous format, guys, where you store data in key value pairs. Full form of JSON is one moment. Just give me a second, guys. Yeah, so JSON would be storing data in the form of key value pairs. This is how it would look like. Maybe you want to store few values, ID, someone, maybe name, Python, something like this. Okay, JSON. Full form of this JSON is JavaScript object notation. Okay, so whenever you are using HTTP client or REST APIs to call something, most of the data would be written in this JSON format. Not just that, most of the configuration parameters or most of the automations are done on this JSON format. Okay, so JSON format would play a crucial role there. So I'll be walking you through modules that are supported in Python to deal with JSON datasets. Okay, and going back to this code, then I'll be showing you HTTP client APIs. Here we'll be talking about REST APIs. We'll try to understand what exactly a REST API is, and what are these type of methods, like what is a get method, what is a post method, and then I'll be showing you Python code to call these methods, be it a get method or be it a post method. And then we'll talk about Python decorators and generators, Python accession, the features of Python. And now module 5 is the Python module which would help you to develop data science applications. So here we'll spend some good amount of time where we'll be talking about NumPy packages like NumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib. Okay, NumPy is a mathematical package. Pandas is a data frame oriented package which will let you to do some data operations. Okay, and then Matplotlib is a visualization module. Okay, then you have Python JDBC. Here I'm going to show you how you can connect to your databases using Python code. We will be using MySQL environment, guys, as a database. Okay, I'll be showing you how you can do CRUD operations using Python. CRUD stands for create, read, update, and delete. So these are the 4 operations which you can do on top of your database, and I'm going to show you how you can do that using a Python code without having to write an SQL query. Okay, and we will be wrapping up our course with the web programming framework. Okay, Django and Flask. So here I'll be giving you some good introduction, and you will get some good knowledge on how you can leverage Python for developing web framework. I'll not be deep diving into Django and Flask, but you will get some good understanding on how web frameworks are developed using Django and Flask. Okay, so hence the name Comprehensive Python, guys. Hence the name Comprehensive Python. So core concepts of Python, no compromise. Like whatever you are seeing in module 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are like core concepts. You know, this would help you no matter where you are using Python. Okay, be it a data engineering applications like PySpark or data science applications or web framework. These 4 are the modules which are like mandatory for others, any applications you are building using Python. And then you have Python for data science, where you will be learning data science specific modules, NumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib. And then here Pandas will help you to understand PySpark operations as well. And here you have Lambda functions, which will help you to develop PySpark applications. Okay, and then we have Python JDBC to help you to understand how you can connect to database with using Python. And then you have this Django and Flask framework, which would give you some hang of how Python can be leveraged, um, in web framework. Okay. And there is one question from one of our participants. Let me know who is the author of Python, when it will be implemented, and what is the reason to implemented this program. I understood your first question, buddy, but I didn't really get when it will be implemented and reason to implement this program. Can you be specific there? So father of Python is Guido Ron Wasson. You mean the year? You mean you want to know the year in which Python has been implemented or Python has been started? If that is the case, it's 1991 is when the first version of Python is released. And the current version we are going to learn is Python 3, guys. Okay. Now let me walk you through the environments which we are going to use to develop our Python applications. Okay, I will show you how to install Python in Windows. Install Python on Windows, and we'll use Notepad as an editor to do this. And I will also show you REPL mode of practicing your Python code. And then I'll show you how to use Jupyter notebooks. And then I'll be walking you through Colab notebooks as well. Colab notebooks are Google notebooks. So it's like Jupyter, the Jupyter notebook kind of environment on cloud. In fact, we will be starting our course using Colab notebook. Easiest way to get started. Okay. Then I'm also going to show you PyCharm IDE. PyCharm IDE to implement your code. So I'll be using this PyCharm IDE when we get into object-oriented programming structures. Okay, but other environments I'll be walking you through other environments as we progress in the course. Okay, maybe first to start with, to save our time, I'll be showing you Colab Notebook. Then as our course progresses, I'll be showing you other environments as well. I'll be showing installing Python on Windows as well. Okay, in the first week itself. Okay, you should get hang of how to install Python, where you can download Python from, and then different distributions you can use to install your Python. One example, Anaconda. Okay, and you should know how we can execute Python code without any of these IDEs. Okay. Mac installation I'll not be able to show you, buddy, because I don't have a Mac, but I can give you references where you can do it. Same answer applies to you, Srinivas. I'll not be able to show you in Unix because I'm using a Windows machine for this course. Okay, so it's a pretty straightforward installation. You'll have to download Python and run untar command. I can give you references where you can get it from. Straightforward process, but I can support both of you.
Sure, thanks.
Okay, so you're stuck somewhere, you can probably get back to our folks, Career IT folks. They'll be scheduling a one-on-one session for installation. Okay, I can help you with that. Okay, but in the session I'll be covering Windows. Hope that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, so these are the different environments which we will be using, guys. And there is another question from one of our participants. Let me know, are there any opportunities after completing your session in web developing? So let me clarify this again, guys. My Python course is not a domain specific Python course. Okay, so like web programming, no. Or am I covering Python only related to data science? No. Am I covering Python only related to PySpark? No. Okay, so whatever the Python I'm gonna cover in my course would help you to explore various opportunities in these domains. Say for example, after this course you want to go and join a data science course, it will be like a piece of cake to you. At least you will be able to understand all the code the data scientist is typing. Okay, but again you will have to learn the algorithms, like what are the regression algorithms, classification algorithms, or deep learning or whatever. Guys, one question at a time. Please wait with your questions because I would be missing your questions if you keep on typing your questions in the ocean of questions. Okay, so please do wait. I will be taking one question at a time and I'll spend enough time with you. Okay, I'll spend enough time with you. Probably I'll be spending 20 to 30 more minutes to answer your questions. And still you got questions, you can reach out to our folks. Okay, so my course is not specific to any domain, guys. Maybe you want to explore opportunities on PySpark, or maybe you want to learn Databricks environment. Yes, whatever Python you have learned here would be very handy to you to go and join a course on data engineering. I'm not going to teach anything related to data engineering here. Similarly, you want to explore opportunities in web framework, you can go and Python functions and arguments. Yes, Dinesh, they are basic concepts, buddy. Okay. So explore opportunities on web programming. Yes, you can join any web programming which dedicatedly deals with web frameworks like Django or Flask or whatever. Okay, but my course is a generic course which would give you wonderful knowledge on Python. Yeah.
Suresh Garu, sorry to interrupt you. Hello everyone, this is Lakshmi from Career IT, important info from Career IT. The regular sessions for this batch will be starting from tomorrow only. Timings would be from 7 to 8 AM IST. For USA people, it falls on Sunday evening. So I'll be sending all the details through mail. So please check your mail for more details. And also you can reach us on the numbers, whatever I have provided in short for more details. Thank you.
Okay. Now let me take up your questions. So Python automation is another module, Prasad. Okay. So there are a lot of modules that are available for Python. Like I said, this Python automation would fall into one of such modules. Okay. So you have some wonderful modules in Python which would support you to automate your processes. Okay. So at the end of the day, see, Python for data science, you are using Python. Python for data engineering, you are using Python. Web framework, you are using Python. So what is the difference between the Python and Python used for all these things? It's just the modules. Okay. Python functions and arguments. Yes, that would be covered, Dinesh. I hope I answered this question already. Any other questions, guys? I have answered all the current questions on my chat. Duration of this course, 40 days, guys, including Saturdays. So you'll have 6 days sessions in a week, and 40 days is the duration of this course, and you will get 35 hours of learning Python, 35 hours of course, and we will be spending this 35 amazing hours to learn Python, and we will have a lot of fun in learning. As I'm not a guy who would like to dump a lot of theory on you, so we'll have a lot of fun. We'll try to do some kind of gamification, okay, while learning concepts, and we'll try to implement some interesting applications. Yeah, there is no class on Sunday. Okay, so for example, we will be implementing a photo editor application, guys, as a part of this course, where you can upload a photo and you can do all the gimmicks what you do on a typical photo editor, like improving the brightness, decreasing the brightness. Okay, and I will be giving you some knowledge on these domains as well while we are walking you through the course. I'll be talking about data science applications. I'll be talking about big data applications. I'll be talking about um, image processing while we are dealing with this editor. I'll be giving you some knowledge on these automation tasks as well. We'll be doing some fun tasks like you can write a small script which would never let your system sleep. Okay, maybe these days we are doing work from home. Maybe you want to appear online all the time. I'll be showing you how you can do that, matter of 4-line code, and I'll be showing you how you can send automated emails. I'll be showing you some modules where you can convert speech to text. Okay, maybe we'll do a simple example where you can talk something, and whatever you have talked would be converted to the text and will be sent as an email. Okay, so these kind of fun activities we will be doing, guys, because I never want to teach a programming language in a boring fashion. Okay, so like I said, we will have a lot of examples. You will get a lot of practice problems. Okay, but again, it's up to you to complete your assignments. When I say assignment, it's not a typical university assignments, so they are for your practice. Okay, nobody is going to check whether you have done it or not, but we will give you assignments, give you some time, and then we'll be posting answers as well. It's going to be you who have to be integral to complete those assignments, and then check your answers with the answers provided. And another frequently asked question, guys, can I get a job learning Python alone? Definitely not. Let me be brutally honest. Definitely not. Python would give you a good way to start your career in other domains, like be it a data science, or be it a big data or Spark, or be it web framework, or be it automation testing, or be it any other technology. Okay, let's say maybe I'm an ETL developer. I wanted to become a data scientist, or I wanted to pursue my career on machine learning. Can I join a machine learning course directly? Yes, you join. You will be able to understand what he's talking about, but you'll not be able to implement any code. The reason being, you don't know Python. There is a roadblock. Okay, so this Python would be acting as a bridge to pursue your careers into other most happening domains. Okay. Dinesh, daily 1 hour, 2 hours, 1 hour, buddy. Yogesh, I hope I have answered your question. Opportunities for an experienced guy to change stream. Definitely Python would be acting as a bridge to help you pursue whatever you want to get into. Maybe you want to learn Databricks, or maybe you wanted to learn data warehousing operations on Azure, or maybe on AWS, or using Databricks. Yes, Python would help you to understand all those things, implement all those things. All professional topics will be covered or only basics? Professional topics. I didn't get this question, but let me try to answer this in the best possible way. I don't believe like basics or professional. I don't really get this term. Okay, but whatever you are going to learn in this course would give you wings to fly. Okay, that's something which I can assure. When you say professional, if you are expecting I would be covering all the APIs and other things, definitely not. But if you see my course, whatever I have listed under these miscellaneous topics, they are not just basic topics. For example, to help you understand the client APIs, I'll have to explain what is a REST API. I have to explain what is an API first, and then I'll have to explain what is a GET method, what is a POST method. Okay, and then same is the case with JSON, same is the case with the web scraping, same is the case with regular expressions. Okay, so they are not just basics, right? And then talking about JDBC as well, you know, I have to talk about RDBMS. I have to make you understand what an RDBMS tool is and how the data is stored there, and why do we do this, because this is something which would help you to build the backend. Okay, and when you say basics, I don't really understand. Like Django and Flask, you will get good understanding. Maybe I might call it as a basic knowledge. Okay, because I'm not deep diving into Django and Flask. Okay, because if I deep dive into Django and Flask, those two modules itself will take 1.5 months easily. Okay, and again, talking about Python for data science, same is the case. I'm giving you wings to develop data science applications. I cannot deal with data science APIs or data science algorithms. Okay, that itself will take 2 to 2.5 month course. Okay, hope I have answered your question, Venkat. Dinesh, it's not 8 to 9 a.m. buddy, it's 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. IST. Okay, so you'll get more details from Career IT folks on the same. Python certification, there is no standard certification for Python, Saraswati. Like you have one for Java. So talking about Java, you have OCJP certification, but for Python, you have Microsoft certification, which you can opt to. Okay, so that is one recognized certification for Python. Okay, instead Python have different competitive programming platforms like HackerRank. So your stand on these platforms would give you more visibility. Hope I have answered your question. Srinivas, is it possible to skip Saturday and have just 5 days, Monday to Friday? So to answer this question, we have included Saturday session on request of a lot of consultants, Srinivas, because you know they don't want to spend like 1 month. I mean, they don't want to spend like 2 months on learning Python. So they wanted us even to take on Sunday as well. Okay, but I feel like at least 1 day rest is required for me, and this is not the proposal which came from us. This is the proposal which came from students and experienced professionals, especially because they are like they don't want to spend 2 months on learning Python. They wanted to get it completed in 40 days, and there is no other way for us to have a 6-day week.
Is it the case for the folks that are going to attend now? I mean, did you get like feedback from the people who are going to attend this session?
This
I
session,
understand. No, I understand from folks whoever requested it, but Is it the same case with the people who are going to join this course and attend this course?
Let me be brutally honest here, Srinivas. That's not my call. You can definitely have a discussion with the Career IT folks.
Okay,
So their
yeah,
call
no.
would be final. I am okay with anything. At the end of the day, we want more students.
Yep, I'll check with them. Thanks.
Okay. Hope you agree with me.
Oh yeah, sure. I agree with you.
At the end of the day, it's their call. So I am not specific to take 6-day week or this thing. But the only difference is you take 6-day week, this course will go for 45 days. I mean, more than 45 days.
Yeah, for me, Saturday morning would be difficult. So that's all concerns.
Yeah, I can understand. I can understand.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Is there any live projects? Okay, good question. So live projects, definitely nobody, because we are not dealing with any domains here. So, but we will try to have some good projects to you. Like I said, when we deal with this NumPy, we will be implementing a photo developer application. I mean, photo editor application, which would give you sense of developing an application. Okay. Likewise, we have some applications. Maybe, for example, once we are done with object-oriented programming, I will show you the application which I have developed recently, which will do a find and replace functionality. Say, for example, you have a folder and you can have 10 files or 20 files in that folder. Okay. When you give a keyword which has to be replaced with another keyword, what are the application you have developed would take that input and change it on all the 10 files. That is an application which we have built recently. I'll be walking you through that application. So likewise, we have examples, but definitely not live projects. Okay. Any Python material provide. Okay. So whatever artifacts you are seeing on my screen during your course would be given to you guys. Okay. So every session of our course will be recorded. You will get those recordings. And what are the notebooks, whether they are IPYNB Colab notebooks or IPYNB Jupyter notebooks or .py files I'm showing you, you will get everything. And then assignments would be given to you and their solutions would be provided to you. Okay. Saraswati, how Python would helpful for ETL developers? Very good question. So I have seen 3 to 4 ETL developers in this demo. So let me tell you what, I being an ETL developer or being a data engineer on big data platform, so this Python would help you to pursue your careers on data engineering roles, guys. I mean, you might ask me, boss, aren't we called data engineers? We are already working on ETL. But these days, data engineering, modern days, data engineering definition is completely different. So the expectations from industry, from a data engineer, is to have a background on big data technologies like Spark SQL, PySpark, Hive. Okay, and then they are also expecting you to deal with data ingestion technologies like ADF, Azure Data Factory. Okay, and learning this Python would help you to jumpstart your career on those technologies. Okay, I would say you can easily learn a tool called Databricks on Azure platform, not just Azure, on AWS or any other platforms. Okay, so forget about cloud. Even though you have taken cloud out of picture, you should be easily able to scale up on those platforms. Okay, and call yourself a data engineer rather than calling yourself an ETL developer. Okay, so when it comes to data engineering, we get sources from different REST APIs or maybe SFTP servers, or maybe your data might be sitting on an existing RDBMS tables or any data warehouse tables. Okay, or any tables which support JDBC connectivity. Okay, so it's our responsibility as a data engineer to ingest that data to our storage and then do some processing using PySpark, and then finally have it in a data lake from where our AI and BI users can consume data from. Okay, hope that makes sense to every ETL developer over here in the demo. So the beauty of Databricks or any other technology, guys, you don't need to learn something new from what you are already doing. So because since you are already in ETL technology, you might be using a tool like Talend or Informatica or any other ETL tool at this point in time. You can easily upgrade yourself to this Databricks and you know, you can get into a bigger role, I would say. Okay, so this is in the context of ETL developer, and maybe for the same ETL developer, you don't really need to stop yourself at a data engineer phase. Maybe you want to explore opportunities in data scientist. Again, at the end of the day, there we do a lot of data operations. So I keep telling to folks, data science is all about common sense. Is all about common sense. You know, so whenever someone asks me about what are the prerequisites I would need to jump start my data science career, I would say only two prerequisites. One is knowledge on Python. Second one is some data knowledge and a common sense. Okay. Any other questions, guys? I'm waiting for your questions. If you don't have any questions, one request from me: when you are leaving this session, please leave a feedback about this demo in the chat window, guys. That would help us. Like, how did you feel about this demo, and what would you like to know more? Okay, so please feel free and drop your message in the chat window. I'll be waiting for 5 more minutes. Okay, if you have any questions.
I have one question, Suresh. Srinivas
Yes,
here.
Srinivas, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Would you provide use cases for the Python automations related?
Python automation, I'm not dealing with any Python automation related module in this course, Srinivas.
Okay.
So if it is your personal interest, like I said, you can get back to our folks, Career IT folks, and they will be arranging a 1-hour call with me, and we can have a private discussion one-on-one.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So that help I can definitely do.
Sure. Thanks.
Can we learn Python without any language, sir? Wonderful question, buddy. You don't really need to know any prerequisites before learning Python. So Python itself is an entry-level programming language. So you don't really need to have any background of any programming languages. And I'll be dealing with right from the basics. So you don't really need to worry about that. Thank you, Saraswati. Thank you, Yogesh. Thank you, Yajna. Questions, guys. I'm waiting for your questions. Cool, then have a great weekend. And happy learning. See you tomorrow. Thank you, Srinivas. That means a lot to me. Yes, Saraswati, you can drop off if you don't have any questions. I'm waiting for more feedback and any questions if they have to ask. Otherwise, even I would be dropping off from the call in next few minutes. Thank you, Kiranmai. Even I'm so happy to teach you. Thank you, guys. I'm wrapping up the session. Assuming that you don't have any questions,